Welcome to Creative Tien channel. Today I want to show you a very interesting technique. I didn't invent it. I was inspired by another YouTube video for knitting tubular shape on a flatbed knitting machine without sewing by hand. And it's useful for making socks and sleeves or anything you want to make a tubular, circular knitting. I'm going to make a sample for the technique, and later we can use the technique to make socks or gloves or fingerless mitten or even hat and neck warmer. I started with a few rows of waste yarn. You can add a rebel cord or just start knitting with the main yarn, and you will need the main yarn and similar color yarn for the seaming. You can just cut a long piece of yarn from your main yarn for the seaming of the side on the machine. So I thread my main yarn and knit my first row. Make sure it doesn't get caught on anything. Then we can start placing the yarn that's going to be on the side for the seaming. Pull out the stitch that's far away from the carriage, just a little bit, so you can place the yarn as an extra stitch and leave a yarn tail, and we knit across. And we do the same on the opposite side. The stitch that's opposite to the carriage, we pull out a little bit and place the yarn inside the hook and knit cross. And you will see a loop is forming here. We want the loop to be a little bit loose, and you don't want it too long because it might get tangled. And you can also place some kind of pin so to keep it down and not get caught in the carriage. And then we just keep going for every row. Place a yarn in the hook. And place a yarn in the hook. And this idea comes from another YouTube video. She used a dental floss as a seaming yarn. I will link the video somewhere in the description box. And you can also use standard yarn if it's strong enough. Most socks yarn like this has some type of nylon or polyester, so it should be strong enough when we pull at the end. And make sure this yarn doesn't get caught in the carriage, or it's not going to work. And we just keep going. Pick up your yarn, place on the hook, close a little bit, and knit. Place yarn on the hook and knit cross. The needle, pull out a little bit, place the yarn, and do the same on the other side. So you basically have 2 stitches on the edge needle. So we can seam up by pulling the yarn at the end. So I'm just going to keep going for a little bit more and show you how it looks. So I did about 25 rows. That's what it looks like, a lot of loops. I'm just going to continue knitting a few rolls of the waist yarn and take it off the machine. I will cut off the secondary yarn that's for the seaming so it doesn't get tangled easily. So that's what it looks like after I take it off the machine. This is a waist yarn on the top and bottom, and I find the tail for this yarn is here. I just start pulling. Just go slowly so it doesn't get tangled up. Because both yarn look similar color, so you have to make sure you pull the right one. This is the right one. It's a little bit lighter color for me, so just keep pulling it gently. It's supposed to close the gap. You see it's starting to close. And we just keep pulling. If you get stuck and it doesn't work on one side, you can always look for the other yarn tail on the other side and start pulling from the other side. Let me find the yarn tail. Here is a yarn tail on this side. You can also pull from this side. This will probably work better with a simple project, a simple tube. If this complicate, increase, decrease, or different pattern, it might be harder to get it right. Almost done. Okay. Now pull all the yarn. You might want to adjust the tension a little bit. Pull out a little bit to make the stitch more even. So that's what it looks like. Now you make a tube. You didn't even have to sew it. Just look at the inside. You can barely see it. The outside you can kind of see the seam, but it's not too bad. And it's a very flat seam. So next time I'm going to use this technique on my sock knitting, and we can also make gloves or fingerless gloves with this technique. Thank you for watching today. See you next time.